examples that I use is thank everybody for being here. And as I was explaining, we have done the Dialogue Cafe, getting America talking again. And we have done it in 11 different cities over time. And it's sort of like a non-judgmental free-for-all to express what you have in your heart, but a lot of the purposes and reasons for putting this together was America at some point did stop talking to each other. And it just wasn't around racial issues, it was around everything. But many of us here remember the great Elder Johnny Hayes, who was over the radio station in Asheville. And we were talking one time, and he was talking about the experience of how even back then, during the civil rights movement, when they were sicking dogs on us and the hoses and all like that, at the 16th Street Baptist Church with Dr. Shuttlesworth, Bull Connor would send a delegation over to the church. I could not place him because, again, my uncle used to take me to the 16th Street Baptist Church, and he would be there in meetings with Dr. King. And that's when I sort of finished the conversation and said, oh, yes, they would sick dogs on us in the daytime, but by night, by 11 o'clock that night, the same man was sending the delegation to say, let's talk, and walking through the door and looking for Dr. King them. And that's when I remembered Elder Hayes. He was the one that was active and up, and he was much younger. But the thing is that at some point, you might remember when, I think it was in the early 80s, the news media and everybody came out with don't talk to strangers. That was all conceived. That was all planned to get people to separate themselves from each other even more. And they were very successful, they thought. Then George Floyd came, and Black Lives Matter, and everybody started coming out of their essence, their God-givenness. And as I was talking today, that never forget, you don't have to worry about it because it's really in the DNA. And so here we are today, and we have not lost any ground. Actually, I get a little crazy, but we have gained ground, and let's remember that. But thank you very much for coming, and it's been a blessed day on this Martin Luther King birthday. Yes. So do we have any questions? All right.
So, Zach, it's been a blessing connecting with you in the synchronistic ways we have. Going on today, I love how you bring the issues beyond the material and remind us that it's collective and universal. So, one question I wanted to ask: the things remembered and forgotten, in your personal experience and opinion, what do you find is most important and potent for us to remember as human beings, and what is important to not focus on, which may not be serving us towards our collective vision?
That's very interesting. Thank you. I think it is important. I think it's important to remember and to concentrate on those things which are life-giving. And back in the day, that wasn't a question that you got from the elders or anybody, because it was just readily understood. It is very important to continue and remember your ancestry, to continue to follow in the path of the elders and those who had sat at the gate. So the black community was a very cohesive community, and I think it's important to know that those elements still exist in the black community. I know that things have changed and gone awry in some areas, but we still have to know that we still have the legacy. Is like a baton that's passed on, and it is information. And we have to understand that information is not always gotten by talking. Information is of the heart. Information is of the spirit. And it is passed from one to another in areas that we sometimes sort of have forgotten, but it's almost ritualistic. It's you know, that's why we meet together. It's sometimes, like I was saying in the speech, you know, they would grab hold to your hand and they would telepathically passing on information. We didn't even realize it. But you know, you find yourself walking in the same footstep. So that's my answer to that.
Thank you. And this naturally brings me to us remembering ourselves again in our essence, like you're speaking of, and peeling those layers back. So in your experience, what would you say in human beings are these greatest blockages right now that keep us from remembering our essence? Because that can bring awareness to places we can focus on within ourselves.
Well, we hear a lot about distractors, the internet, and all the other things that are put out here. You know, I've never been a big sports fan, and I think sports is one of the distractors and keeping people's mind off of the real, okay, pacifying people. But it doesn't concern me as much as it does maybe other people, because we have to realize we're made up of 30 trillion cells. And you can't fool all 30 trillion cells. if you think about it. It was a point, you see, it took about 15 years for the powers that be to really capture how the civil rights movement was being operated. They couldn't figure King them out, okay? And it took about 15 years. And when they got it, they ran with it. And one of the things that they began to do is to combat it was to make America dumb, the dumbing down of America, okay? Now, I can remember back, and Mr. Earl and Brother Ali, we were all in Atlanta, and I was at Georgia State, and we get up there by Kessler's and all like that, and the Muslims would have the mic for a minute, and then the New Wabians would have the mic, and the Black Panthers would have the mic, and then shouting preacher would come and with his tambourine, and he had a mic, okay? But I remember when the Black Panther Party got started, you know, some of them were from 16, 17 years old to 22. Hardly anybody was over 22. And most of those Black Panther leaders had PhDs or was in a PhD program. And, you know, I think about, I mean, some of Dr. King's speeches and everything, but Lord have mercy to hear, as I mentioned, H. Rap Brown talk, okay? To hear Huey Newton, all right? And Stokely Carmichael, right? And these people had some fundamental things, and they were teaching us, right? And then to come, the 70s hit, and they put out all those old crazy films. I wouldn't even go and look at them, a lot of them. And it was the dumbing down of America. And just not black folk, everybody, okay? And I said so many times, the powers that be thought he had us. But when George Floyd happened, and this is why I don't worry, so we thought all was lost, and we thought people had just given in and given up, and the spirit of us, the essence, began to rise up. The memory sticks got in place, and Black Lives Matter came out, and other places, and you know, I looked at the news, and Fox and CNN was talking about all the rioting youth after Freddie Gray was killed in Baltimore, and I said, let me go and have a look, because I didn't believe it anyway. And when I got there, I saw hordes of youth in the street, well-dressed, young men walking with young ladies and bowing as they pass you. And several times I'm walking around, and Mr. Zack, and they didn't call my name, but sir, we like your linen clothes. You know what I mean? And so I'm saying, where are the rioting youth? No, they did not exist. Folk were lying, okay? And so I never reached the point of all this loss, because here we are today. And we still here. Out of all the statistics, you know, the drab statistics, and you know, y'all ain't done nothing and ain't got no heroes no more and all like that, but we still here, okay? We ain't dying like flies, amen? You see what I'm saying? So, and what happens is every now and then the God in us get in our spirit and in our energy and give us hope, renewed hope, and a lot of that essence of the elders and the ancestors come back up through us. We might even have not known some of our ancestors, but the spirit of the ancestors continue to go. Now I'm going to say one more thing. I did the eulogy for Sister Rwanda's awesome husband, Baba. And at the last of the eulogy, I sort of went deeper into what it means by passing the legacy or passing the baton. And I talked about how, and I got this information from white authors, and they were talking about doing slavery and in the years of lynching. They would, after they had lynched a black man or a black woman, and see, I have to say it like that. When they talk about lynching, it's always, mostly we think about black men, but I took my sister to the museum in Baltimore, the Wax Museum, and I kept telling her, there's one part of this museum you might not want to go in, okay? And they had it sort of separated. And Dr. Charles Mycoro, I can handle it, okay? Amen. But I'd gone before. And so I said, okay, and we went in the museum, and they started with the slave ship, okay? And we went in the museum, and when we got to this special room downstairs, I said, okay, I'm telling you, you might not want to go. Oh, come on, I can handle it. And a few steps in the room, one of the first displays of lynching was this black woman who had been accused of loving her black man who they lynched too. And she was pregnant by somebody. And they, when they got ready to lynch her, they pulled the baby out of her. And my sister said, you're right, I can't take it. And we went on back upstairs, okay? And so basically, here we are, and we have felt like we don't have a way, and there's so much negativity happening. But as I say all the time, it's more positivity in the world than negativity. They just blow up those news, okay? They big bullies and everything. Because if it were more negativity in the world than positivity, then we couldn't sit here today, all right? So basically, every now and then, you can go out throughout history, and that's why they call the civil rights movement a movement. And throughout history, we have had certain movements for righteousness and for peace, okay? And so that's what I'm about today. And here we are. So we're going to win. We're going to win. Thank you.
This is so true. And to just highlight what you just said as well, making that movement our mindful moment to moment in every moment. So one way that you're able to bring that song, that rhythm, of movement and healing is through the artistic expression of storytelling and poetry. So for you, can you tell us a little more how your artistic expression has led to healing and transforming pain into something beautiful to be shared?
Thank you. I think it has always been there in terms of this is just the way we were taught while growing up. Black people had a lot of hope. Black folk had a lot of pride, okay? And we dwelled on that. We dwelled on that. And so basically, we have been able to transfer that and pass it on and make it a legacy. And I just can't help it. I've always been an optimist. I've always, you know, I used to hear my mother say, God will make a way out of no way, okay, when we didn't have nothing. But we had an abundance, okay? And so, you know, when somebody walk up to you trying to discourage you, you almost ready to say hell no, because I ain't taught that way. You can't fool the one who know how the fool goes, okay? And so basically we travel in different ways. That is and the other part, and I'm gonna give the mic to my nephew, because my nephew, he doesn't know this, but my nephew became an encouragement too to me, and I was in my 40s, I think I was, when, and all of a sudden my nephew went off to Cambridge, and I was already dealing with the history of Christianity, you know, and how some things you just have to wonder about, you know what I mean? How did he get that way, you know what I mean? And he went to Cambridge and came back home on a break, and he started talking. I said, hot darn, Lord have mercy. I've been thinking this for years, because you know, I was over in Europe in the military trying, and I was working on proving. I was in those museums and libraries, and I was proving that Christ had to be a black man, because wasn't no white folk down in Egypt. So how you gonna paint God as white and Jesus Christ, Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci? You know what I'm saying? And so basically, that's one thing in life. We are an encouragement to each other, the very essence, the melanin, and it goes that way. But Dante, I want to hear from you.
Well, thank you, Uncle. Well, basically, I'm over the years, I've just been influenced by what's real. I got tired of hearing things that uninformed people repeating the same thing, and the conditioning of America that teaches us to repeat false truths instead of dealing with the truths that are there. We're trained in this country to follow what we're taught to believe rather than what truly is. And the thing is because of that now we can no longer deal with what the truths are because we're not used to receiving truths. We're used to living by myths, fairy tales, and things that are just passed on through traditional generations. And all tradition is not good because it's just passing on the same false truths on and on and on until generations of people continue the same lies and the same truth. So I became inquisitive in going to Cambridge. They were of a different mindset, and that just kind of opened me up. And all of my inquisitiveness, they kind of opened me up to really getting the answers to a lot of things that I had questions about. And so now you can no longer just tell me anything just because someone else said it. You know, I consider the source. And if you tell me you got it from an article or what have you, who wrote the article? You know, it's all about that. And true research is far beyond Google. You know, true research is the work behind the things that actually happen, occurrences, science, mathematics, social studies, history, arts and humanities. It's the things, it's the proof. That's what I respect. It's the proof. And so that was just some of the things that changed my life. And yeah, I talk about it. And I also talk about the belief system and things within that has kind of fooled us over the years, being taught to believe certain things. Just because you believe it doesn't mean that that's the truth. That doesn't mean that means it's true. It's just what you feel deep inside to be what it is. That's what you were taught. And so it's a difference between what you believe and what actually is. And so those are the things that I usually speak on. He asked the name of my book. Name of my book is Impact of America. Yeah, and it deals with all of that. Yeah.
I can truly say that I have to be the proudest person in this world, in this room. I am the proudest person who was there to listen to my brother, my baby brother, and now I'm listening to my son. They don't know that although I thought that I was the one that was kind of teaching them, I have become that person now who sit and listen. I truly have learned so much from my son and from my brother. I shall never forget when my son Dante called us from Cambridge, and he stayed on the phone for 45 minutes telling us what a difference life was being made for him, and how all of those things that he had been taught because we believed them was not real to him anymore. And we decided to listen. I can say today, I am the proudest person in America. And as a mother, as a sister, as a mentor of 82 years old, I am proud. Thanks so very much for inviting us, Robert. We would not have missed it, but more importantly, thanks to my friends who decided that if you don't have a way, we're going with you. I love you very much, and thanks so much. Thanks, Elena. You don't know what you have done for me. I'm telling you, the support you have always given. Thank you so very much.
I just want to say I am a friend of Cora and designer of clothing that her brother Robert, yeah. But beyond that, I want to say I'm the partner of Baba Uhuru, whose photo, well, it's not a photo, but an art piece that somebody depicted. And there was a statement made here about a false truth, which I think is an oxymoron. Did I use the right word? Yes. So there are no false truths. There are false narratives, things that people say as being truth. That's basically it.
False narratives.
All right, passing it down.
I really thank my sister for bringing Mr. Zackary to the forefront for us. I have been here in Hendersonville for the last 3 years. I'm originally from here, but I've moved to Atlanta. I've been there 40 years. And some of the things you said, I know because I've been there. And I know the struggles that I've been there. So the center where I worked at in Atlanta was a senior center. And I remember some of those people coming in our center. And I remember talking to them, John Lewis, Maynard Jackson, all them. And the history, like you said, from there, and what I gathered from that, being from a small town, we didn't have some of the things that they had in Atlanta, some of the things they were talking about. So I wanted to bring some of the history from that here, and that's one of the reasons why I moved back. It's because I wanted to give back and let people know what I've been through and share with them. So that's why I have the business that I have now, the salon. A lot of people come into the salon. I give them a history lesson sometimes when they come and let them know, there's more out there than here, you know what I'm saying? And that's about it.
By saying thank you to Mr. Zackary for inviting me here. But however, I've been inspired to speak about his sister, because when she started to speak, all I heard was my mother. And my mother have 9 boys, she have 2 girls, and she raised 3 others as her own. And what she always would say when we all came together is, man, there's a lot of power in this house, and I'm the most blessed person in this world to be able to witness this. And so what I felt just then, I felt her energy in reference to she's very proud, she's thankful, not only for what she spoke of, but for me outside, saying that a powerful woman like this, to be able to say, okay, I'm going to take the back seat because I know God has blessed my brother a certain way and has blessed my son a certain way. Thank God for this moment.
Well, that brings me to a thought. What is your name again? Joseph Courtney. Joseph the Dreamer just reminded me of the nature of our universe, which is positive and negative, the poles, divine feminine, divine masculine, and how, like you said, having that feminine energy, holding the space for the belief, for the thoughts coming in, and then adding the action to it is the nature of our universe. This is how the balance and harmony of nature comes together to be. And in the journey thus far, everything has brought me to go inward, to stop seeking externally, which is what I was doing, looking for the answers outside of myself, finding that answer and validation and just blindly trusting it. And it's all brought me inward. And like Einstein said, and like Joseph said, we can't have new thought systems or different systems by using our old thought patterns. We have to quantum leap into a new way of being within ourselves. So that's where I am, is peeling back those layers of the identities I created, the conditions, the systems, the corrupt systems I created within myself, and finding that essence again. As Zach said, is what we are, that spark, that fire. And from there, it's all going to ripple and create everything that I've ever dreamed of into reality. All right.
Thank you. Oh, wow. I'm so grateful. I decided early in my life that there was a treasure in following suit of those who had gone before. And you know, part of it was just running around as a kid and realizing how astute and how intelligent these black folk were, and how, you know, they knew so much, but they didn't have no degrees, a lot of them, you know what I mean? But they had, as I said in my speech, the PhD of life. And I'm on a task. Dante mentioned his book, and his father's book just came out. And my book, it would take a few more months. And all three of us have talked about doing a tour together, because it's all about the same thing. We shall overcome. And there was a time when we as black people, some segments didn't like singing that song. You know, we had a rise so and what have you. But I said to an audience one time, as long as the powers that be play and sing Bach's B minor Mass, Beethoven Ninth Symphony, written 300, 400, 500 years ago, I'm gonna sing We Shall Overcome. I'm gonna sing This Little Light of Mine. Lord have mercy. I'm gonna sing Amazing Grace. How sweet the sound. And I'm different than Obama, because sometimes I change the word and I say, I ain't no wretched, that saved a one like me, it's all right to change the word, because the one that wrote that song, you know, he was a slave catcher, you know, on the ship. He was in trouble. But I'm like Jeremiah. I came from my mama had a holy womb, And if I came here holy, then what are you talking about? Trying to make somebody feel bad, like they ain't nothing. I don't know that about filthy rags. I came up in a good household. Black folk in the community helped each other out. You hardly ever saw the police. So that's what we remember, okay? And we wouldn't know filthy people. You see what I mean? That's what my nephew was talking about. You know, these kind of things have been preached to us and all like that. And you know, when I was a child, preacher got up and talking about they were in Egypt for 400 years as slaves, Lord. I said, no, they wasn't. They wasn't slaves. Now the Bible didn't say that. So he decided to go down there and tell my daddy. He was teaching Sunday school, and Daddy would sit on the porch. See, Daddy wasn't no church man, okay? But Daddy would sit there, and every time we got out of church, he would reprocess what we had been taught, okay? Because he said, that stuff ain't coming in my house. And so he came and thought he was telling them, and Daddy said, let me ask you one question. Did my son disrespect you? Oh, no. You know he wouldn't disrespect me. Daddy said, well, then get on off my porch. Go on back up there and tend to your business, okay? Okay? Because I can read. I can read, okay? And I remember, and I tell this one all the time, and I had to remind my sister of what happened. She was in high school. I was in elementary school. And, you know, we were in that sanctified holiness church now. Ooh, they could preach you out the door and back to the altar and back out the door again, huh? And they preach and they got going on you going to hell if you go to PE and wear those PE bloomers. Oh, Lord, huh? And my sister came home crying. Daddy every night that we went to church, he's sitting right there on the porch or in his chair in that living room. He said, what's wrong with you? And you told Daddy what's wrong. Daddy said, don't worry about it. Go on in there and go to bed. But then the next morning, Daddy got her up and took her to school and went in there and talked to the principal, say, you know, he knew the principal by first name. SJ, where are those bloomers, PE bloomers? And the principal got the bloomers, and Daddy said, go on to class. And that was it. Ain't heard nothing else, because if she didn't dress out, you know, she was trying to be the best in the senior class. You see what I mean? And so this is what we had in the black community. Is people and parents looking out for you, taking up for you, taking care of you, and what have you, sending you home when you needed to go home and you were getting ready to get in trouble, okay? So you cannot forget that, okay? And so no matter how other people hound and mound and all like that, we ain't got nothing to worry about. We still here. We still here. Now that's the next piece I'm gonna do. Okay, I wrote that one when I was in London, and I was invited as the featured poet to the. You know, you may have heard of Brixton. You know, they back in, I think it was 2010. They had the riots in Brixton in London. You know, black folk and Native Americans and Indians and all like that, because you know they took us over there as slaves too, and they had a riot and just tore up everything, and the British did it different than you know when they had to riot in a lot of these cities, Detroit and all. They didn't build it back, but British said, no, we got it, we got it. We're going to build y'all everything you want. And they built an ironclad community center. I walked in there, and they had everything, all kind of art and everything, and had an audience, and the people were waiting on me. I said, Lord, look here. You know what I'm saying? And I stood up and I began that poem about, you know, we still here. After all that you've done to us, after all the atrocities, after all the letdowns, after all the scheming that you've done on us, we still here. Okay? We still here because we must have outsmarted you. Huh? Those PhD parents, they could outsmart. They could say yes, yes, yes all day long. And then come home and talk about them, how big a fool they are.
I'd like to say first that I enjoyed myself today at the celebration and listened to Dr. Zackary, which he was very good, very enlightening, brought on a strong speech. My name is Brother Earl. Yeah, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I did like to make the statement that about the 60s. when the movement started. That's the time I was growing up in the 60s. The movement, also the revolutions came out during the 60s. The revolution. And if we cannot forget this right here, that it was a lot of songs, revolutionary songs, made during the 60s. And one of the greatest songs was A Change Gonna Come by Sam Cooke. All right? That song was made because of the movement. All right? Now, just to name a few other great, powerful songs during that time, right? I don't know whether you remember this song, Greetings, This is Uncle Sam. Okay? That was a powerful song. You know, in reference to the Vietnam War. These songs was referencing the Vietnam War. Greetings, This is Uncle Sam. Okay? Bring the Boys Home by Frida Payne. It was another big song. War. What is it good for? Everyone know, right? Absolutely nothing, right? Edwin Starr. See, during that, the 60s was a tough decade. It was a big revolution. Now, I want to name a few great men that was killed. Most was assassinated during the 60s, right? And it was 6 of them. This is no coincidence. Now, when we look at President Kennedy, okay, Medgar Evers, Sam Cooke, Malcolm X, Robert Kennedy, and Dr. Martin Luther King. All of them was killed during the 60s, right? And all of them had one thing in common. All of them was killed by a gun, a weapon, a gun. All 6 of them. So I just want to say those few words to put a little information on our mind that we cannot forget that was the theme for today, right? Never forget. All right? Anyway, I thank y'all for listening. All right, peace.
I'm thankful to my family for coming, and they have not seen the Grove Park Inn, and that's where we gonna go. And anybody else love to join us, you're welcome. But we're gonna end it after Rwanda.
We have this habit of saying that we can agree to disagree. I would like to say, can we agree to be agreeable?
All right.
Oh, Lord. Can we agree to be agreeable? That's deep. Amen. It's unity. Unity is the oldest. Unity is older than diversity. Uh-huh. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You and I. Oh! All right. You see what I was talking about? Can you see that? You see that knowledge? You see that knowledge? And look here. We were young men on the streets of Atlanta, okay? But I mean, we were being taught by those same people that you mentioned, and it was amazing. The poets, the artists, and all like that. They took you under their wings, and they taught you. And like Andrew Young, I didn't really go into what Andrew Young really did, but Andrew Young, Zackary, you can't do that. Huh? Poking me in my chest in the back of that church. They were serious. And they sit you down. and they refer. You know, I know your sister. I know your parents. I've been to Anderson. I call them right now. You see what I mean? And they keep us in line. But the thing is that we knew the power of listening. And we had, you know, Malcolm was just as dear to us as Martin. You know, and then we had local role models. Okay? What they try to do with our children today is get their minds off the community and go into the Hollywood and all like that. We wasn't thinking about Hollywood. Okay, they out there. But we had local, okay? And if you needed some counseling and all like that and some talking to, you had your person to go to. And I had mine, okay? And they would expound on that wisdom, and you would get up walking tall, you know. And this is what, and the thing is, this is one of my pet peeves. This is one of my sidekicks. I'm telling everybody, we still got all that. We still got it. Now, you might have to go digging a little bit. You know, it might be hidden because, you know, they did certain things to us. They took the elders, the ones, you know, 4 or 5 black men used to sit up at a tree stump in every black community playing checkers all day. They wasn't really playing checkers because you get out of line, they call your name. They be at your parents' house before you got home. Okay? Told everything. You see what I mean? So what they did, they disturbed the black community. They took those elders and put them in high rises. Okay? Separated them. So we didn't have the men sitting at the gate dressed in purple. All right. Proverbs 31. Say the who can find a virtuous woman? And what she did, she made sure a man was at the gate. And you just couldn't waltz in a city and because they scrutinized you when you came in the city because those men were sitting at the gate. And that's how it was in the black community. And they would tell, you know, and certain white policy men would come around and the word would get around. Don't take no policy from him. He ain't righteous. He ain't righteous. They passed through the beauty shop and the barber shop. Okay, he looked like that. He got red hair. He got some tattoos on his arm. And he was up there trying to do what he could to Miss Fanny. So and we had to, and the black men say we had to kick him out of the community. So don't let him in your house. And my daddy wouldn't let him in our house anyway. Okay? They came to the porch and they got the money. Okay, they couldn't come in our house. And daddy would tell them, say, okay, if my wife say you can be the insurance man, you can, but you see that door right there, don't never go in that door. Whether I'm here or not, don't ever go in I can't come to your house, so you ain't coming to mine. And that's our history. You know, they tried to fool us to say the black men wasn't nowhere around. They still here. And then they came out with a report. See, the truth is coming out. Okay? Now, they had told us the black man ain't in the black neighborhood and the black man don't do nothing. I knew they were lying because every big city I would go to, Brother Ali, I'd go through the black neighborhood and early in the morning I see black men walking their children to school, black men taking out the trash, black men opening doors for their wives and all like that. But they say the black man ain't nowhere and he all in prison and all like that. So they finally came out with the truth. And guess what they said? There are more black husbands, black granddaddies, black fathers, black uncles in the home than any other race in America. Oh, Lord. See, they ain't telling that story. And you're right. You had to scratch through Harvard to find it. But we found it. You see what I mean? I mean, and they did some sure enough research. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, we have to start listening to ourselves instead of other people. Okay? We're going to stop right here. We're going to stop right here. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.